Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. It's me, Teen Shalit, and today we're going to be talking about a new what if that I have just thought of. Yeah, I decided to do a new what if. I went through all my past series and I realized that after being on hiatus for so long, I have completely forgotten what the plot should be going forward. The only reason I was able to do What If Issei Was Betrayed Part 3 was because I only had done two parts, and not much had happened in those two parts. Unlike Abranium, What If Deku Was a Jedi, Heroic Instinct, and it has more than four parts, so I'll have to rewatch the series, my cringeworthy series. It's been such a long time. I've been trying to be a bit more refined with my series, with what I put down, so you might see some more changes around here. But let's just get on with it. So today we're going to be doing what if Tony Stark had the gamer ability, okay? Now you might be thinking, what's the point in giving Tony Stark the gamer ability? Well, he died, okay? And so much stuff happened after he died. I just think that, we should give Tony at least one last hurrah in this alternate universe where he doesn't die. Where instead of him dying, it's somebody else. But that's going to be a subject for a later. That's going to be a, a subject for a later topic. Yeah, later. So here's how it's going to start. He's going to still do everything he did at the beginning of Iron Man 1. But here's where it changes. So, the Jeep in front of Tony blows up. And everybody is shocked, panicking. The soldiers are all going outside. Tony's asking for a weapon, but they keep having him stay inside. Tony knows that if he stays, he'll just end up being another body bag. So he goes out and he sees a bomb. And the bomb blows up. Tony blacks out. When Tony awakens, he sees himself in front of a camera with guns pointed all across him. But he sees something else, something even stranger. He sees a blue floating screen in front of him. Tony is wondering if he's hallucinating. He must be. There's no way there would be a screen in front of him and nobody else had noticed. Tony tried to ask, but when he did, they just hit him with the butt of their gun. And Tony blacked out once more. Before he blacked out, he could hear Obadiah, which shocked Tony, but he couldn't think on it since he was falling asleep. When Tony woke up once more, they had an operation done on him. And this blue screen said system rebooting. And then Tony blacked out once more from the pain. Tony woke up again. This time, he didn't feel any pain. He felt alive. Yet, in front of him, the blue screen was still there. Tony didn't understand what this blue screen was. Never in his life had Tony ever played any video games. He was more focused on girls, drinks, schools, and the grief of his mother and father dying. He didn't have time for those kinds of things. So, Tony just looked at the screen and pretended it wasn't there. He kept looking and it just disappeared. And Tony was wondering, where did it go? And so he tried to see if it would come back again. So Tony said out loud, screen, and the screen appeared. But when he said turn off screen, the screen disappeared. Now Tony knew that what he was seeing only he could see. And yet, he felt like an idiot for even thinking that he was seeing something in the first place. He must have been delirious through all the pain for him to be thinking of that. So, here comes in our man, fan favorite right here, Yinsen. He comes in and he sees Tony just spacing out. And then Yinsen's like, gives him that whole dialogue speech, everything happens. Except this time, Tony asks him, do you see that blue screen in front of you? And Yinsen is wondering, what screen? Stark. And Tony is asking himself, did he really see something? Or was his mind playing tricks on him, making him delirious? Tony didn't know. But what he did know was that he had to get out of this place. But once more, Tony had a paper bag thrown over his head, and he couldn't see it once more. Tony recounted the steps in his head of where he was going, memorized them, making sure that if he ever escaped, he would know where to go. Tony then was shown to the outside, and he was wondering. He could see all these weapons. These were his weapons. And then he remembered the one name that he heard before he blacked out for the second time. Obadiah. Then, like an epiphany, it hit Tony. Was Obadiah the man who did this? Was he somehow a part of this whole thing? Tony didn't know, but Tony didn't want to find out either. He trusted Obadiah with his life, and he wouldn't back down now, all because he just heard his name. He could have been hallucinating like he was. But then Tony thought once more. Was he really hallucinating? He thought the same thing when he saw the screen. Yet, to him, it was real. So, was it really Obadiah Stane? Was it really the man who helped raise him and helped keep him and the company afloat? Who was there for him his whole life? Could this man really be the bad guy? Could he really be the one who conspired against Tony? Who gave these weapons to these terrorists? Tony didn't know, and he was brought out of his musings by the guy. I don't know what the guy's name is. He's forgettable because he's like most Marvel villains. You forget about him, other than Thanos, Loki, Red Skull, Whiplash, Ultron. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I just forgot his name. So, the man says to him, look around you. What do you see? And Tony's like, I see a lot of my weapons. And the man says, I want you to recreate the Jericho missile. And I give you a week to create it for me. If you do not, I shall kill you. But if you do, you shall be free. And then the guy's like, yeah? And Tony's like, he won't free me. And Jensen, next to him, says, you're right, he won't. But Tony agrees. And so, Tony, like in the movie, he creates everything, and then he creates his suit, and all that happens. Okay? Yes, I know I'm skipping over a lot of things, but for the timeline to still stay the same for the moment, we need all this to happen. Because the real change happens when Tony comes back. And when he starts trying to invest in what he sees. Okay? Now, Tony is back home. He came from the airplane and he saw the stretcher and he just waved it away. He came and Happy said, and Pepper was crying, shedding tears. You know, all that happened. They went and then Tony asked Happy to, instead of going to the hospital, go get an American cheeseburger. They went. They got the American cheeseburger. And Tony just stared at it. Stared at it because it's been so long since he's had some real food. And here it is right in front of him and he can't even believe it. Has it really been that long? He asked himself. Since he's seen the outside world, it seems almost impossible, yet possible at the same time. Tony just hopes that when they reach the conference hall, that he'll be able to say something. Because at the moment, he just feels impatient. Now, we cut to we cut to him still staring at the cheeseburger. And yeah, you won't believe it, but he keeps staring at it. And then something pops up on his peripheral vision. It says, new skill unlocked. Observe. And then it gives a brief description. This skill allows you to observe objects and get information from them. And Tony was, what? What is this? Observe? I have never heard of such a thing. He kept thinking to himself. And so he tried to test it out. So he used observe on Pepper. And it said, Pepper Potts, level 16. Level 16, yes. I'm giving her level 16. She has 10 strength, 16 stamina, 14 agility, 10 dexterity, 5 luck, negative, and 10 charisma. So yeah, that's basically what she has. And he's shocked. What are these things next to her? He can tell that STR means strength, DEX means dexterity. He knows what they all are, but he's just trying to believe it himself, what he's seeing. So Tony just pushes to the side and tries to test it again, see if he's not hallucinating again this time. And so he goes and he goes to let's see. He's just happy. Observe on happy. And then he sees happy. Strength 25. Bodyguard of Tony Stark. Best friend of Tony Stark. And the man who carries the engagement ring of Tony Stark. Tony just couldn't believe what was happening right now. Is this really real? Does he really have superpowers, or is this all a hallucination that his mind is using to cope? Because don't forget, Tony's a logical man. He won't believe something unless it spits him in the face. So right now, Tony just thinks what he's seeing is just his mind using as a coping mechanism. So then Tony just eats the cheeseburger and just doesn't even focus on what's happening. So Tony just, eats. Then they have the whole conference. Everything happens. He shows the arc reactor to Stain. And then he goes down into his workshop area. And he decides to look up some video games. Some RPGs. What he thinks might have been... He searches up stats. And he sees RPG games. And he starts investing into these companies that he sees the games from. He starts playing the games. And 1 week later... Time skip. Through all that flack, through everything, Tony has just been laying low. Trying to figure out what he has with him. And so, he decides to start out. And he says, stats. Alright guys, this is where I'm going to be ending part 1 to what if Tony Stark had the gamer powers. Now, you might think, wait, you're just going to end it there when he says stats? Yes, of course I am. This is just the basis. This is maybe like some subtle changes that we're going to be having for Tony Stark. Don't worry. For part 2, which I'm going to try to release as soon as I can, if I have a more solid idea with it, a lot of good stuff will be happening to Stark. A lot of good stuff. So just hang tight and wait. And don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. This is your boy, Teen Charlotte, out of here.